Okay, hi class. I wanted to make you guys a video so that you can see me. I wish I could see you guys, but I wanted to kind of introduce this week's unit and this week's lesson, hopefully clear up anything that might be confusing on paper. I tried to write it as clearly as I could, but I kind of feel like when I write things down, it gets more complicated and more convoluted, and I wish I could see your faces to see if you could understand all the things that we're going through. But as always, you guys can call or text or email me anytime to get any clarification. This week's actually pretty simple. There's one big twist in the way we're going to do things, but other than that, it's very straightforward. Just you're going to follow lesson 26 in your IEW book. And whenever you get confused and you're like, wait, I'm not sure exactly what I should do, check the bookmark. The bookmark's going to tell you exactly what tasks you need to do. So this week's main goal is to start your Faces of History project. So you've each chosen your topic, as in you've chosen the person that you're going to research. You all are looking at somebody different. Hopefully you've been able to keep the person you've chosen a secret from your siblings if you have a sibling in this class. So keep that hush hush if you can. Your parents going to need to know because they're going to need to help you with some of the work this week, most likely. So you've chosen your person. That's awesome. I'm so excited that you get to research whoever you chose. You all got your first top choice, so I think that you're going to really enjoy finding out and learning about this face of history. So lesson 26 in IEW book is writing a formal essay, or at least beginning to write a formal essay. It's actually lesson 26 and lesson 27 that covers one 5-paragraph formal research paper. In the IEW book, it has you writing about the Renaissance. It says pick a person from the Renaissance and research them and write about them. You're not going to do that. You are going to do all the steps in the IEW book, but you're not going to do the Renaissance topic. Every time you see Renaissance or inventor or scientist in the book, translate that in your mind to Middle Ages and Faces of History person that I picked out, or that you picked out. So you're going to follow the steps, but you're going to change the topic. Instead of writing about the Renaissance, you're going to do your Faces of History research, but using lesson 26 as the guideline. So do every single step in the regular stuff, but with your Faces of History project. It's great because we're combining kind of 2 projects into one, so it's a lot less work than writing 2 papers. You just have to remember, don't get sidetracked by whenever it talks about the Renaissance. Just move on to, oh yeah, Middle Ages, Faces of History. I got it. So you've chose your person. Your next step is to learn more about that person. So the very, very first thing you're going to do this week is find sources and research. Find sources, read about your person, and take some notes so you can pick topics, your 3 main body topics. So you're going to write a 5-paragraph essay. This week you're only going to be focusing on choosing your topics for your body, and you're going to write those first 2 body paragraphs. Next week, when you get new directions, you'll finish that final body paragraph and then write your conclusion and then your introduction. So, focus this week is do your research, find out about your person, and start writing about them. All of that will be outlined really clearly in your IEW book and on your bookmark as far as the step-by-step goes. The big thing I want to emphasize that the IEW book doesn't do a great job of explaining is that you have to find your own source material. And I know because we're stuck at home, that can be a little difficult. Fortunately, we have the internet and you have your parents. So take time on day 1 before you even basically get started, look at your bookmark, look at your stuff, and find your sources. And I feel like day 1 doesn't say that really clearly, so I wrote it really clearly on your bookmark. Find some sources. You're going to need at least 3 sources. So 3 either different books or a book, an internet article, and I'm letting you guys use either a documentary or a movie if you find one or if you know of one. I don't want to give too much away, but some of your people might, some of the people that you chose, it might work really well to watch a documentary or a movie that talks about the person. So you can use only one of that video source. It's a little bit difficult to cite YouTube videos, but sometimes YouTube has really good documentaries on famous people. So keep that in mind, that you might learn a lot if you're really good at listening to information. You're allowed to use one site that is video based, and you'll have to use PurdueOwl.com in order to find out how to cite a video in your bibliography, because you'll want to keep track of where these sources are. So your first task, get your parent to help you and choose at least 3 sources. Mystery of History is a great one, right? And I think that probably most of the things you chose are covered at least in some degree in your Mystery of History book. So like there's one, check that right off the bat. There's lots of good internet articles, especially for kids, that you can use. You may have to look at more than 3 before you find 3 that are going to work for you. So I'm really thankful for all your parents who are going to help you make those selections, make your source selections. So that'll be the number one thing. Choose your sources, scan them, and this is going to be, your book will tell you how to do this, scan them to look for what topics might be interesting, and then choose your 3 topics for your body paragraphs. Those topics can be anything, as long as the sources that you've read or that you've at least scanned have a lot of information about each of those topics. So, for example, you might just choose 3 different periods of their life. Those topics could be their childhood, their middle of their life, and then the end of their life. It could be as simple as that. But you'd have to have information about each part of their life and something that was important about each one. Or it could be 3 different contributions to, the world that they provided. Or it could be kind of a combination of that. Topic 1, their childhood. Topic 2, the thing that they are famous for, a single thing that you wanted to explore, and then how that thing impacts the world today. That's another way to divide it up. So there's a lot of different topics. You can't pick those topics until you've done some of the research, though, until you've actually read and scanned your sources to see what is interesting, right? What's interesting and what's important about these people. Oh, these 3 things seem interesting and important. Let's pick those. So I am super confident that you guys are going to find your topics pretty easily. All your people are very interesting, and I'm looking forward to reading what you write about them. So that's what you're going to do this week. That's going to be day 1, and then the following days will be your basic outlining, re-outlining, right? Fusing your outlines and then writing your paragraphs. You've done it before, you've done it several times before. So I think once you get your sources, you're just going to breeze through the rest of the days. So day 1 is important, and it needs to be done right away. Do day 1, and the rest of it will come a lot easier. Don't push back, don't procrastinate and think, oh, I'll just do all the days at the same time. Do day 1 pretty quickly, and then you'll kind of have a feel for how the rest of the week is going to go. So check. You've chosen your person, you've found your sources, you've scanned for topics, and chosen topics. All 3 topics you have to choose on day 1. Follow the steps for the rest of the week and check the bookmark. If you have questions throughout the week, just let me know. I'm going to send you guys your checklist, but I want you to notice that this checklist is for lesson 26 and lesson 27. So it's going to take you 2 weeks to write this essay. And then you'll have a chance after it's finished to make some changes to it. I think that peer editing and teacher corrections will help you produce something that's going to be really, really nice once you're done. But basically you're going to have 2 weeks to write this paper, and it's only going to be under 1 checklist. So you're not going to actually turn in a checklist this week. At the end of the week, you'll have written your 2 paragraphs and you'll turn those in by email, but you don't need to turn in a checklist because only part of the checklist is going to be checked off, because this checklist applies to the entire essay. So as you go, keep underlining and labeling your style, your prepositions, and your style and your sentence openers and your vocabulary. Keep marking those and keep track, make sure that you've done them. But this week, you don't have to do everything in the style list, because you still have 3 paragraphs that you're going to write next week, and you can use some of those style in next week's. I encourage you, use way more style than the once each essay, because it actually makes your essays better. The more style you use, there's a limit, but you guys use good amount of style in your regular writing. So don't hold back because you only have to do it once in the essay. go ahead and use 4 different prepositional phrases in your essay. I'm only going to give, a check mark for 1, but it's going to make your essay better. And that brings me to something I've added to the checklist. That is, I know you can't really see it, but I added an item, flow, for bonus points, and voice and audience for bonus points. Those are not like they're not on your normal style checklist, but there's something that you guys are getting pretty good at in some ways, and in some ways I feel like you guys need to be challenged to do better. You guys are pretty good at voice. When I read your paper, I can tell it's you. It has like a certain Ava-ness to it or a Noah-ness to it. I can tell when I'm reading Matthew's work, right? And sorry, I'm not going to say everybody's name, but I can pretty much tell, I can tell this is their work, and that's a good thing. But it also, what I'm seeing in your writing is that I'm seeing like the best of you. I'm seeing the more professional version of your voice coming out in your writing. That's why I do a lot more writing than I do video stuff, because I like my professional voice a lot better in my writing than I do in my talking, because it's just more casual and that's how it goes. So you guys are getting good at voice. I like the way your essays sound in my head when I read them. But I also want you to consider when you're writing, who are you writing to? So this is a little announcement. You're writing to, it's not really an announcement, you're writing to me, I'm your audience, your classmates are your audience. That's kind of our typical who we're writing to. But I want you to actually picture them when you're writing sometimes. Be like, okay, would they understand this reference? Do they know who this character that I'm, offhandedly referencing is? If you're using a person as an example, you need to make sure your audience knows who that person is. So I don't think I need to say much more about that, except consider who your audience is, kind of picture them in your mind, and think, would they know what I'm talking about, or do I need more background information? So that's voice and audience. The other one is flow. Some of you guys do really good at flow, and some of you guys need to work on flow, and that's why I added it as a bonus feature. Flow is how your sentences come together one after the other. Does this sentence in your paragraph lead to the next sentence, lead to the next sentence? Does it have like a logical flow or progression? Some of the paragraphs I've read in the last couple of weeks seemed very much like a list, and the thing at the beginning of the paragraph didn't seem to have much to do with the thing at the end of the paragraph. And then it's really hard to write a conclusion when the things in your paragraph didn't really seem to match up very well. It was just random facts that were thrown in there. So I wanted to give you guys an example of an easy way to structure your paragraph to give it flow. There's a lot of different ways to do flow. One of the best ways to accomplish good flow is if you're really interested in your topic and you just then you kind of know, you notice that the sentences are just flowing from your brain and your fingers. And that's when you get good flow, is when you can tell I'm very interested and I'm just telling what I think about it. Another way to do good flow is to add some structure. So I don't think you guys can see this either, but this is a structure that I actually saw Olivia using this week in her body paragraph on, on virtues. So what she did was she did her topic sentence, and then she gave an example, a sentence of example, and then a sentence of details about that example. Then she moved on. New example, details about that example, new example, details about that example, conclusion. It's very structured, and you won't always want to write this way because it might get a little bit boring, but I loved this paragraph. I thought it was really well done. It was structured to give it flow. So I'm going to go ahead and read it for you so that you understand. This is about compassion. So it says, compassion is a foremost virtue. Topic sentence. Then the first example was, Eleanor of Aquitaine was compassionate to the poor. Details. She lowered some of the taxes so that they could afford them. Next sentence, new example. Joe, who is a character in the book Little Men, had compassion for needy boys. So that's the example, Joe from Little Men. The detail sentence says, she opened a school for unfortunate boys to learn, sorry, my copy doesn't say, to learn. It was a good sentence. My printer has a blank spot on it. Third example, Olivia, I have compassion for the homeless. Details, I help by cooking lunch for them, one Saturday a month. Conclusion sentence: compassion is an important part for everyone, or of everyone. Really structured, like I can anticipate what every sentence is going to be about, but it works. Everything about the body of that paragraph matched up with the topic sentence, and it had a nice little conclusion, good examples and details. Very organized, very structured, but it helped give it flow. When you're young and when you're learning to write, this is a great way to get better at flow. Another great way to enhance the flow of your essays is to use your sentence openers, a prepositional phrase, the ly opener, clausal openers, not so much the very short sentence, although it does help flow. So yeah, all of those sentence openers, you'll notice a lot, or the because clause, it helps connect back to an idea that you already had earlier in the previous sentence. So that's a challenge for you guys that I think you're all ready to handle. Getting better flow and a nice voice in your essays. So those are for bonus points. And I'm excited to see what you guys do with that. Otherwise, regular checklist. I had to move things over to fit it all on the page. Use the checklist, enjoy your writing. What else do we have to talk about? Turning in homework. Thank you guys so much for turning in your stuff online, and for your parents for working out their scanners and Google and like all the different things that you had to do. Thank you for doing that. I really appreciate it, and being flexible with all the weird not being in class stuff. I know I really miss you guys, and I like having class with you, and so I'm kind of sad that I'm talking to a camera right now. But I am thinking of you guys and picturing you. If you are behind in your work, some of you guys are behind in your work because, like, for good reasons. You either had a spring break, you guys were sick. There's a couple people who are a week off. Please continue on with the whole class. I want this week for you guys to be working on lesson 26. If you have a week that you need to make up, I want you to do it during IEW's spring break. Because most of you, if you had an issue with being behind, it was because you were on spring break for Connecting Waters or for whatever thing that you missed a week. So when IEW has their spring break, that would be a great time to make up the week that you missed. Because I think that there's a couple different people that missed different weeks because of different things. That's all fine. Everything's crazy right now. The week of IEW's spring break will be a good time to make up that work with no penalties. I'll just grade it whenever you get it to me by the end of IEW's spring break. So you'll do fine with that. If you need to be reminded what week that was, I can probably help you out with that. But I won't have a bookmark for you because I don't save those each week. I just kind of rewrite them. So hopefully you still have your bookmark for whatever week you missed. A few items to address, just little things in your homework. I don't want to see you guys writing the phrase, "my topic is," or "in conclusion." I want you guys to be a little more creative and a little bit more independent. Make your sentences a little more independent. And I guess this will be more something that has to do with next week when you're writing your introductions. Because some of you guys, I had noticed, were writing a lot. We're just saying, okay, attention grabber, background information, then my first topic is this, my second topic is this, my third topic is this, begin the body of the essay. And while it does communicate the right thing, you're trying to introduce those topics, I would so much rather, at your age, I would much rather see you say something about your topic. So instead of saying, we'll say puppies, because that's an easy one. Instead of saying, my first topic is puppies, I would rather you say, puppies are super adorable. Or, I've explored, or I've researched, even that I'm not a big fan of, but let's look at how puppies are raised before they are distributed to families. I'd rather hear what you think about your topic than my first topic is. And I know that can be hard because you're going to repeat that again as the topic sentence for your next body paragraph. So another thing that I wanted to challenge you guys to do, although again this is more of a next week thing, is when you're writing your introduction, get closer to making your introduction of topics instead of 3 sentences. Whoop. Let's get closer to making those just 1 sentence, 1 or 2 sentences. One of you guys even I really liked how you did it. You did 3 sentences to introduce your topic for last week's homework. You introduced each of your topics in a single sentence, but then you kind of capped it at the end with something called a thesis statement, which I haven't taught you guys. I just saw it in one of your writing, and I was like, sweet, they did a thing all by themselves, where they tied all those topics together and made a claim about them. So I'm excited to hear about your topics, but even more than that, I'm excited to hear what you think about your topics and what claims you want to make about each of those topics. So again, that's probably more for next week, and we will talk about introduction and conclusion sentences and paragraphs more next week. But for now, avoid using the phrase "my topic is" and try to just say something about that topic. This will be important because you're writing body paragraphs, and body paragraphs have topic sentences. So in that topic sentence, make a claim about your topic. The only other thing I have, basic stuff, keep underlining your style, keep labeling your sentence openers, or I won't give credit for them. Big red warning. Anyway, I think that's it. Let me know if you guys have questions by texting me, emailing me, or calling me. I am hopefully going to talk to you guys on Friday in person, as in on the phone or on FaceTime, and I'm really looking forward to that. I love you all, and I hope that you guys have a great IEW writing week. Bye.